super lucky. I hate wearing this thing, so because it weighs like 50,000 pounds. Here, I'll put this. Can you hold it really quick?
Maybe you can.
Imagine that walking through the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I spent my year in France. I left August 26, 2010, and I got back in the United States June 24th, 2011. I was in a little teeny town called Grandvilliers, France. It's in Picardy, which is an hour and a half north of Paris. So on the weekends, I would take the train and go into Paris. I want to start by saying one of the reasons I left for France was because first of all, I knew I was not ready to go to college. It seemed way too overwhelming for me at the time, and so I thought exchange was a great way for me to continue learning, but in a new environment, but not be in academia again. After 2 super rigorous years in high school in the IB program, I was just like, okay, I've had enough learning for a little while, so I'm going to go away. And then the second huge reason was because I wanted to figure out who I am as a person. And because, well, in high school, I feel like no one really knows who they are, let's be honest. It's a huge game in seeing, okay, I'm going to try this hat on today, I'm going to try this hat on tomorrow. And so you don't really figure out who you are until you go to college. And I was not willing to wait until the middle of the year of college to figure out who I was. I wanted to get on that plane and go to France and figure out who is Sadie Hansen. And I think by the end of my year, I definitely know who Sadie Hansen is now. Okay, so, here we go. Okay, so, I got on the plane at Minneapolis Airport, and I was with 2 other exchange students, Raphael. Anyways, I was on the plane with Raphael and another girl named Mackenzie, and we did not sleep a wink on the 12 hours we were supposed to be flying to France. And then you get to France at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it finally hits you, oh my God, I should have slept. Like, it was crazy, and they were like, coffee, 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 and they're speaking in French, and you don't know what's going on. You're just like, it's the most overwhelming feeling I've ever had in my entire life. And the only word you're hearing is bonjour and coffee, 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 coffee. And you're just like, I don't know what I want right now. It'd be really nice to hear some English. So I called my mom, and I'm like, I'm here, I landed. And then that's the last English I heard for like several days, which was extremely overwhelming. So within my first week, I think it was like the 3rd day I was in France, we went to Paris. We drove, which is the most absurd experience ever, because you do not drive to Paris. You take the train, because if you want to get there in the hour and a half it's supposed to take you, you take the train. But if you want to get there in 4 hours, you drive. Because the traffic, once you hit the outskirts of Paris, the traffic is horrid, and people don't know how to drive in Europe. I thought for the first 3 months, I thought I was going to die every time I got into a car. Like, one of my host brothers would drive at it'd say 100 kilometers per hour, so at first I was like, oh my God, we're going 100 miles per hour. I was sitting in the back seat, I was like praying, please don't crash, please don't crash. Well, then you realize, okay, it's only 100 kilometers per hour, it's still really fast on these dirt roads, and it's winding everywhere. And then you get into the city, and you're just like, okay, you can slow down now. There's people everywhere, and they're still driving super fast. So my first day in Paris was extremely exciting. Of course, I'm dressed like a complete American in my hot pink North Face. which was a huge no-no I discovered on my first day of high school, because apparently that is way too much color for one person. So we went and visited all the big monuments. There's the Moulin Rouge, which, by the way, if you want to see a show at the Moulin Rouge, you want to get your tickets in like a year in advance. None of the exchange students got to go to a show at the Moulin Rouge, which was super sad, so we just all take pictures out in front of it. The Eiffel Tower, which is one of several million photos I took in front of the Eiffel Tower. And then that's the Sacré-Cœur. The Sacré-Cœur is a church. It's one of the most beautiful churches I've ever seen. And it is the oldest church in Paris because it survived all of the wars. It's one of the only churches that survived all the wars. And my first trip in Paris, I was standing right there and I almost started to cry because obviously I was really overwhelmed being it was only the third day I'd been in France, but it was like, oh my God, I'm in France, and oh my God, I'm in Paris. Like, it had been my dream my entire life. I've been taking French in high school and middle school and elementary school forever, and I'm finally using those language skills. Granted, it's totally different being immersed in the language and learning in high school, and I was just so overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, I made it to where I want to be in my life, that I almost like, my host mom was just like, why are you crying? Should be a happy day. And I was like, I'm just so excited to be here. She's like, and the French are all about like keeping your emotions in check. So me being the emotional, loud American, they're like, okay, this girl cries about everything. She gets super excited about the weirdest things, and the whole like, oh my God, the cars are so small. Oh my God, look at this, it's so different. They're like, why are you so excited about this weird stuff that like is normal to us? I was just like, it's just so cool and different. So that was my first day in Paris. Okay, so here is my first month in a nutshell. I think it was like it was at the end of my first week or so, and my host mom was like, do you like horses? And I was like, huh, what? And she's like, do you want to go horseback riding? And I go, sure. Well, I was thinking like the whole pony rides you do when you're a little kid, like you hold on to the little thing in front of you, you go really slow. That's not what they mean in Europe. They mean this teeny tiny little saddle. You have to hold yourself up in the squat position, and they go really fast. Like, I almost fell off this horse. It was terrifying. And then I got to see Adrian. This was at our first ever like meeting with all the exchange students. There we all are for my district at the bottom. Adrian was here at my house was it a year ago? I think it was a year ago. And again, the French are very about emotions in check, everything. He comes through the door, and I did a running leap at him. It was the first person I'd seen from home in a month, and it was the most exciting thing. It was like seeing my brother, and he was just like, hold up, we're in France now, we do the bisous, no hugs, whatever. I was like, you're giving me a hug, mister. So, and then I sang in a band, a French band, but I did not sing in French. They were like, you sound funny when you sing in French. And so they would sing in French, and then they go, since we sound so funny in English, you're going to sing in English. Well, I did not sing like girly songs. I sang Highway to Hell by AC/DC. I sang some Lion K movie songs, some very boyish punk songs. And then I went to a dinner party with one of my best friends, and we were killing these huge giant flies. They're like this big, and we were very excited about that. So these, in the top corner here, this is our first Rotary outing as an exchange group. We went to the Normandy landing and Mont Saint-Michel, which is one of the seven, is it one of the seven wonders of the world? I don't know, but it's like, it's this huge island with a big old church on it, and the whole island is the church, and the tide comes in, and it's an island, and then when the tide goes out, you can walk around it. And so we, as a group of exchange students, we walked around it for 4 hours, and then the next day we went up it and like explored and whatever. And that was the first time when we got to meet exchange students from the other districts in France, and I actually met my roommate for college. She is an exchange student from Owatonna, and she's in France, and we're both going to be roommates next year, and I'm super excited. So then, that's my host mom in this corner up here, and we are playing bingo with Rotary. I was the only exchange student in my town, and I was the first exchange student they ever had, so it was a big deal for me to be there. They were like, oh my gosh, it's an American. Everyone in town knew, okay, that's Sadie, she's the American, and they loved calling me John Wayne, because apparently when I spoke French, I sounded like John Wayne. So that was my nickname, John Wayne. And I would come in with like a dress on, and I'd be jingling like crazy because of my jacket, and the little kids would all be like, who the heck is that crazy person with all the craziness on her jacket? Because the French kids, like I brought this to school once, and they were like, okay, put that business away. That is not meant to come out. So these two photos with the groups of people, those are other exchange students, and that's at the Normandy landing, and then that's in a little town called Honfleur, and it's one of the like big port towns, and there's really pretty boats, and it was just the most quaint little town ever. Then me and my best friend Alex, who is South African, yeah, awesome. We went into the Wax Museum in Paris, and we were really excited because we were speaking English to the wax statues, and no one else was like, why are these people so excited about English-speaking actors? And then that is me on Halloween, and I am dressed as a Native American. Get the joke? Then this is December. We did another exchange student trip. We went to the Pays de Loire, which is like a bunch of chateaus, big giant castles. I have never seen such big buildings that were that old in my entire life, and I saw so many my year abroad. Like craziness how many old buildings there are, and like you think you see old buildings here. These are like 17, like before the United States was even created. And then I went and saw Lady Gaga in Paris, which was crazy fun. Best concert of my entire life. And we were screaming bloody murder and singing in English, and it was amazing. And then we went to Disney, and when we were at Euro Disney, it was raining and hailing and snowing, and it doesn't snow in France. So we were just like, this is nuts. Why is it snowing on the one day we had to go to Disney? And it was, all the French were like leaving, and we were just like, whatever. It snowed. Who cares? I didn't go to school for 3 weeks because it had snowed like this much, and my host dad was like, it's too dangerous, and I was supposed to go to Paris with friends. I couldn't go because apparently this much snow is too much to drive in. And I was like, I'll drive because I have way more experience than you in the snow. And get this, it was a flippin' whiteout, and he turned his brights on. And I was like, we're going to die. Who turns their brights on? I was like, turn the brights off. He's like, I know what I'm doing. You don't. Okay, so this was my first bus trip to Spain. We visited Paris. We did 6 days in Paris, and I went to the Louvre for the first time, and Versailles, and we climbed the Eiffel Tower, which was super cool. Most terrifying thing ever, though, because you're like looking over the city and scary. Then that's my favorite piece at the Louvre, which is Winged Victory. It's huge. I'd seen pictures, and it's not half as big as I thought it was. And this is us in Spain. The bus trips were like the best month of my entire life. This is me, and I think this is in March. We went to Belgium. I went to Belgium with one of my host families. We went to Bruges, which is like, they call it the Venice of the North, because there's these beautiful channels, and you take these like gondola boats, whatever, and you go through the canals and do tours, and it's gorgeous. And then that's another Rotary function in the bottom corner. That's a German exchange student who was like 25, and she was coming back to visit her host families. And Rotary functions, we were the only two young people, so what would happen was they would say, okay, you're going to party with us, dance with us, whatever, but we were the only young people, so to make it fun, we would just act crazy and just like party and whatever. And they're like 80 and 90-year-olds in Europe. 80 and 90-year-olds are the ones that are in Rotary. So one of my host parents was in a wheelchair, one of them used a cane, like they were old people. So like partying with them was like, woo, let's dance, and they were like waddling around the dance floor. So the next part, this is my second bus trip. So we did Paris, Strasbourg, which is like right next to Germany. Then we did Austria, which was gorgeous, and then Munich. And then where else? And then we went to Verona and Venice and Florence, which was so cool being in Italy. And if I were going to go on exchange again in like college, totally would go to Italy, because first of all, the guys are super flattering. Like, please. You feel so good about yourself after leaving Italy. They're like, woo, hi, what's up? And especially if you're speaking English, which was super fun. And then, being slow. So this is more of Italy and Florence. The bus was like, we did not sleep at all, except for on the bus. And so like, when we were in the hotels, we would like talk and party and whatever. And this is Pisa and Monaco, which was super cool. The only time we would sleep, we would get like an hour of sleep a day, which was super fun. Crazy, but super fun. We went to Geneva, Lyon, and these are like, it was really weird. They had a lot of strikes while I was in Europe. And these people were striking because, I don't really remember. There were so many strikes that I don't really remember all of them. Like, there was a few weeks where I couldn't go to school because the trains weren't working, the mail, they stopped cleaning the streets for like a month and a half, which was gross. Like, and France is dirty. Okay, so this was a Rotary function where I was the only exchange student again, and these are all people from England. So I served as the translator for a week and a half, which was the coolest thing ever, because I was like, whoa, I actually know French. What they would do is they'd have the tour guide speak to me in French, so the French people would understand it, and then I would translate it to the English people into English. And I was so tired at the end of the day. It's extremely exhausting being a translator, especially for the first time, and we're not trained at being a translator. So it was super cool knowing, hey, I know what I'm doing now. These are my friends from school. Here's what my school looks like. That was my best friend Clara, and that's Benoit. He was one of the boys in my class. He was kind of creepy, and he just kind of came up into our photo, and I thought that was funny. Our school was super strict. The teachers, you do not talk to the teachers during class. It's a lecture similar to Korea. Well, sort of, but not like that. I guess it's like strict, but not as strict as Korea. It's stricter than Minnetonka, but I had school from 8:30 in the morning to 6:30 at night, every day, except for Wednesdays when I ended at 2:30. Because on Wednesdays, most kids under the age of 12 do not have school, and then high schoolers, Wednesdays are their days for gym class, after school activities, and you only have one day of gym each week, and it's 2 hours long, and they were preparing for their back, so I wasn't allowed to, they're like pre-university test. So I wasn't even allowed to participate in gym class because they were testing